Good evening, folks. I don't know what that feedback is. It's 7 PM and I'm going to call the Board of Ed meeting to order. It's lovely to see so many families here in the room with us tonight. We're going to start out by doing the Pledge of Allegiance. First order of business, I would ask for approval of the meeting minutes from May 8th, and I would like a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second. Hilda.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Ilda. Thank you. Is there any comment or discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, the minutes are approved. Thank you. And now we're on to public comment. Is there anybody who would like to speak during public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the board chair's report. Real quickly, for the people who are in the room with us tonight, we have a very full agenda. But the awards are the first thing on the agenda after this, so you'll get a chance to celebrate. We're going to take a little break after the awards and have a little reception for, 10, 15 minutes, and then the board meeting will reconvene. All of you who are here for the awards are welcome to stay with us for the full meeting, but we understand completely if you want to get home and have dinner or do homework or just rest and relax. I do also want to mention that last Tuesday, since we last had a board meeting, the town and the Board of Ed budgets passed in the annual budget referendum, which was required by our town charter. I'm happy to say that it's the 5th year in a row, I think, that we've been able to pass the Board of Ed budget on the first try, which is good news for us, which means that we won't have to wait to see what the Board of Finance does to cut our budget. So that's good. I would just like to say, though, that it only passed by 20 votes. And if any of you think that voting is not important, I ask you to consider getting out and voting next time we have a budget referendum. I, as the chair of the board, was really not happy to see how narrow the victory was, though we'll take it. So next May, when it comes time to vote on the budget, I hope people will do so. And then I just want to, a matter of business for the Board of Ed members. I will be putting together some written expectations for board members who want to go visit schools. Not that we don't encourage, and the superintendent and staff are always encouraging us to come and visit the schools, but the protocol really should be that you go and let the superintendent's office know if you're going to visit a school. If you're going for a public event, like an awards ceremony or a public graduation or a visit that everybody in the public is invited to, that's one thing. But if you're going for a specific reason, it's good to just make sure that you're letting the superintendent's office know, because there may be something that the superintendent's office can do to help make the visit smoother if you wanted to visit specific types of classrooms or whatever. and things of that sort. But I'm going to put that in writing for the board members so that everybody's clear on what the expectations are. And that's it for my report tonight, and we're going to go on to the superintendent's report, and the first order of business are the awards for this evening.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. The Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents allows superintendents to recognize our student leaders. So tonight you're going to hear from our student leaders in grades 6 through 12, from our STEM Academy, our middle school, our high school, and our alternative high school. So we're going to have someone from the schools, or in the middle school's case, if they don't arrive on time, I have a pinch hitter ready to go. You're going to hear short bios about each of the student leaders. They're going to be asked to come up front and get a certificate. They're going to get a picture with me. And obviously, we'll post those pictures on the website so you can celebrate your students. We're very proud to be recognizing these students. This is the third annual, hope it continues, celebration of our student leaders, our superintendent award recipients. So we're going to ask Mr. McClure from Barrows to come up, and we'll start the presentation.
All right. When I call your name, if you want to come on down, I'll read all the information as you do so. So our first student, we're going to start with 6th grade and work our way up to 8th grade, is Luna Hernandez Lopez. All right. So Luna is an excellent candidate who perseveres and revises her work to the highest standard to show her learning. Luna is responsible throughout the school day. She shows respect and kindness to others, students and staff alike, and is a model student for her peers at Barrows. Congratulations, Luna. Our young gentleman for 6th grade could not attend tonight, but I'll read his information anyway. His name is Seamus Kavanaugh. So Seamus, his attitude and participation are an inspiration to others. He is responsible with his work. He shows respect and kindness to others and makes a great learning partner for anyone. Seamus is a model student for his peers at Barrows as well. For 7th grade, we have Hannah Vergara Salgado. Hannah is a kind-hearted student who selflessly goes out of her way to help others in and out of the classroom. She is a leader in her classes and her extracurricular activities like Science Olympiad and the Yearbook Club. Congratulations, Hannah. We have Cassius Ortiz. I don't know if I saw Cassius. There he is. All right. So Cassius, who is also involved in many extracurriculars, keeps a positive, welcoming attitude towards all of his peers. He is viewed as a trustworthy classroom citizen who strives to better himself and others in all settings. Congratulations, Cassius. For 8th grade, Kate Dudek. Over this past year, Kate has become a very reflective and self-motivated learner. She has excelled in all of her classes and regularly seeks to push her abilities and understanding. Additionally, she exemplifies what it is to be a Barrows student, always displaying respect and kindness for others and persevering when challenges face her. She was an easy nomination for this particular award because she really seeks to bring her best and herself to her and her grade. Congratulations, Kate. And finally, we have Stone Shaw. So Stone is a naturally inquisitive problem solver. His love of puzzles and Rubik's Cubes easily translates into solving the more difficult challenges in his academics. He is respected by his peers as well as his teachers. He can be counted on to be responsible, lead when needed, and serve daily as a role model of what it looks like to be a focused and hardworking student. Congratulations, Stone.
Good evening. My name is Beth Brunet. I'm the Director of Equity and Multilingual Education, and I'm pinch hitting for the Wyndham Middle School, who is in the middle of their awards ceremony. So for grade 6, I've never seen these words, but we're going to go with it. Sofia Morillo Lopez. Sophia has continually showed leadership qualities since the beginning of the year. She is a member of our student council, bringing good ideas to the table. She is a hard worker and takes pride in what she does. Sophia is kind, respectful, and an asset to the 6th grade dual language program. Jaden Perez. Yeah, Jaden? Jaden is a strong leader in our classes and is always willing to help others. It's awkward, right? Walking across there. I'm so sorry. You're doing great. He is a model student who consistently participates and completes his work with accuracy. Jaden has been a source of pride this year, and the 6th grade unilingual team is pleased to recommend him for this honor. Genesis Lemus Tapia. Genesis is an exceptional student that is very deserving of the CAPS award. She is a well-rounded student, has excelled academically, and participated in her school community throughout the entire school year. Genesis has been an honor roll student each marking period and received numerous iReady diagnostic awards. In addition to being incredibly studious, she has also contributed to her school's culture and climate. She won Student of the Month for her kind and thoughtful demeanor and played the lead role in High School Musical Junior. Wow, okay. She is the perfect candidate for the CAPS award. Now let me say Dylan Perez. Is it right? Dylan? No. Okay, let's just read about her. Dylan is an exemplary, self-driven student who makes sure that his work is completed to the best of his ability. He is an advocate for his peers and for his 7th grade community. Additionally, he is an ESOL student who uses his language skills to help others translate work, both in class and during extracurricular activities. He always participates in classroom discussions and welcomes the perspective of others, which endears him to all of those around him. In addition, this year, he was on the cross-country team and has a significant role in this year's musical, High School Musical Junior. He is happy and outgoing and serves as a role model for the 7th grade. Ali Ashilgren. Ali is an exceptional individual who is a prime example of an exemplar student. This is for grade 8. His commitment to his academics is well-rounded, focusing not only on his grades, but also on seeking opportunities to apply the information he encounters in class. Ali is a true academic and is destined to use his love of learning and his ability to grasp complex material to improve his community and the world around him. Giancarlo Huasoson Roque. No? The CAPS Award celebrates students who display generosity, kindness, and academic prowess in middle school. At Wyndham Middle School, this student has extended a helping hand to his peers in our hallways, in our classrooms, on field trips, and in all other locations in which our students can be found. Not only has he volunteered to tutor his compañeros classmates, but he has also created a project that included building a house that his peers and his teacher could live in. The quote, "A person's greatness resides in his small acts of kindness and compassion," truly describes this student. Please join me in congratulating him. Phoenix? Phoenix is up.
Good evening. My name is Matt Harnett. I'm the principal at the Wyndham Phoenix Academy. I am overjoyed and thrilled to be here tonight to bring in front of you Trinity Correa. Trinity is a representation of everything the Phoenix Academy was created to do for students. Prior to arriving at the Phoenix Academy, Trinity was a student who struggled to find the right fit and a level of success that was reflective of her ability and showcased her potential. As a student this year, Trinity has excelled and exceeded all expectations and will graduate this June with her class. Trinity has not only become successful as an individual student, but has become a leader and a voice among her peers. She is an advocate for her fellow students and has demonstrated a focus and determination that is inspiring others to a level of success not believed possible. She reminds students of the opportunities they have been given at the Phoenix Academy and encourages them to engage in school and participate in everything the Phoenix Academy can do for them. Speaking from experience, Trinity reminds the students of the choices and decisions that are made every day and how staying positive and grateful can lead to success.
So the slides start with ninth grade or 12th?
President of class 24, let's start with the upperclassmen.
Okay.
Upperclassmen, class 2024.
Good evening from the admin team at Wyndham High School. I just want to preface this by saying that the students who are being recognized are our leaders, and they're involved in everything, whether it's sports, the workplace, extracurriculars. So we do have some of our students who aren't here today, but they're not here because they're just so involved in events with our school and community. So I'm going to be, and I have messages from some of them saying how honored they are, especially from our seniors who are very involved in other activities. So I'm going to start with Marlon Perez Sanchez. He's at a soccer game tonight, but Marlon takes pride in being a Wyndham Whippet. He served as vice president for the class of 2024 for the past 2 years and is an advocate for students throughout the building as a peer mediator, student athlete, and member of our National Honor Society. He is proud of being bilingual and fluent in both English and Spanish and enjoys using both languages whenever given the opportunity. This year, he helped MC the revival of our school's Hispanic Heritage Month celebration, where he had led the whole pep rally in Spanish and is the beloved voice of our morning announcements. So congratulations to Marlon Perez. Class of 2024. Kylie Miller is at a track meet tonight. Her mom is right here to represent her. Kylie has served as the president for the class of 2024 for the past 3 years and is an advocate for students throughout the building as a peer mediator, student athlete, and member of the National Honor Society. She does her best to make sure that all students are represented and that their voices are heard. Her sophomore year, she participated in the Connecticut Initiative Voice for Change. With the help of her peers, she presented her community-wide project called Project Courtyard and won the funds to implement it in the near future. She is valedictorian of the class of 2024, a record-breaking Wyndham High School athlete, and a positive role model for her students. And her mom is right here. Anaras Pacheco Sanchez. Anaras has, yeah, you're here. Anaras has served as the secretary for the class of 2024 for the past 2 years. She takes pride in being a Wyndham Whippet and can be seen at most school-wide events, volunteering her time with student activities or supporting the efforts of the senior class. She is the face and voice of the morning announcement and even went on our local radio station to talk about her high school experience. An accomplishment she's most proud of is being awarded as Eastern Connecticut Conference All-Star for volleyball. In addition to be ranking first in her conference for aces and third for aces in the state. Congratulations, Anaris. Carla Negron Rodriguez. Carla served as the treasurer for the class of 2024 this year and has gone above and beyond to make this school year great for so many seniors. She is the face and voice of the morning announcement, has made all calls to the Wyndham High School families to promote senior activities, and even went on our local radio station to talk about her high school experience and what makes Wyndham High School special. She's an advocate for all students and is dedicated to making sure their voices are heard and their accomplishments are recognized. This year, she proposed additional graduation cords for attendance, athletic involvement, and college career pathways to celebrate even more seniors at graduations. Congratulations, Carla.
And now for the class of 2025, we have Anaya Jenkins. Anaya was inducted into the National Honor Society on May 14th. She's a peer mediator at the high school, a three-sport athlete. Anaya was recognized as an all-star and all-conference athlete. She also holds a part-time job. Congratulations. Ariel Cortes Roque. Ariel is an excellent role model, leads by example. He always displays great sportsmanship. Ariel is respectful to his teachers and coaches and is an amazing teammate. Ariel excels in the classroom, on the soccer pitch, and wrestling mat. He's a scholar athlete. Jeanette Morales Monzon. Jeanette is an excellent student and role model. She is a right idea tutor and volunteers at the Willimantic Public Library. Jeanette was inducted into the National Honor Society on May 14th. Congratulations. Irma Lorena Xil Avila. Irma came to Wyndham 2 years ago from Guatemala. She's a straight-A student and a role model to her peers. Irma is part of the Young Parents Program, and on May 14th, Irma was inducted into the National Honor Society. And now for the class of 2026, Ruben Quiroz Trujillo. Ruben is a three-sport athlete, peer mentor, and also a writing tutor. Ruben demonstrates academic excellence throughout the school year. He's interested in running for class office next year. Jaziel Pacheco Rosario. Jaziel is a three-sport athlete with good attendance and school participation and spirit. Jaziel demonstrates strong academic performance throughout the year and grew 30% on last linked standardized tests. Jaziel is interested in running for class office next year. Jason Alonso Charrington. Jason is an active class board member and a writing tutor. Jason has won multiple perfect attendance awards and consistently demonstrates academic excellence. Jason is also a member of both the soccer and outdoor track teams, as well as the Community Service Club. Kybri Dressel Barron. Kybri is a student athlete, active class board member, and writing tutor. She's a food bank volunteer and active member of the community. Kybri demonstrates academic excellence each marking period at Wyndham High School.
Good evening, muy buenas tardes. I am here representing the class of 2027. The first person to come down, please, Emmanuel Ramos Torres. Emmanuel is an honors student with strong academic performance and excellent attendance. He is both helpful and positive. Emmanuel has great leadership qualities and is a student athlete. Emmanuel volunteers his time at WHS and has raised a large amount of money in fundraising for the class of 2027. He has volunteered for fundraising 11 times. Congratulations. Our next person for the class of 2027 is Jasleen Curbelo. Please come on down. Jasleen is an honors student and student athlete. She excels in her academics and knows the importance of outstanding attendance in school. Jasleen is kind, thoughtful, and always ready to lend a helping hand. She has volunteered for fundraising 12 times and has raised a large of money also for the class of 2027. Our next person for the class of 2027 is Damiano Adams. In addition to being incredibly tall, Damiano is the treasurer for the class of 2027. Damiano's strong academic performance has earned him honors. He is helpful and has a positive outlook. Damiano also participates in fundraising activities for the class of 2027. And lastly, for the class of 2027, Juvia Garcia. Juvia is secretary for the class of 2027. She is recognized by our staff and peers as friendly, helpful, and positive. She consistently demonstrates strong academic performance. Congratulations to everyone from the class of 2027.
Congratulations to all of you on behalf of the Board of Education. I know you were standing up there with the superintendent, but we all want you to know that we're extremely proud of you and extremely proud to be working on behalf of all the students for Wyndham Public Schools. You are a bright light for many of your peers. Thank you.
Congratulations, and there are some light refreshments right in the back of the auditorium that you can help yourselves to. We're going to take a brief recess so that we can congratulate an intermission, right? So we can congratulate all of our winners.
Okay, folks, Board of Ed members, if you could come back to the table, we're going to get going and have a nice evening, everybody else. You're welcome to hang around or leave. It's up to you. I see there's some pictures being taken back there, so good for you all. So we're on to item, the attendance and discipline report. Tracy, I'm going to hand it over to you.
And actually, before I jump into that, there were a couple things we realized that we didn't remind the board members about. So I just wanted to remind you, or not really remind you, let you know. So we've been trying to do some things to celebrate our seniors annually. And one of the things we started last year was Decision Day, where the seniors have a celebration at Eastern Connecticut State University. That's actually taking place on Friday at noon. I know it's short notice because we forgot to notify you. But if any of the board members are interested in attending, it's at Eastern Connecticut State University. We'll get you the specific name of the room it's being held in. And the seniors that get celebrated and sort of formally announce where they'll be headed in terms of their secondary pursuits, whether that's college, career, the military, or whatever they're choosing to do. So that is happening on Friday, the 24th at noon at Eastern Connecticut State University. And then just to let the board members know, we, I think, finalized the schedule for our senior parade, something we started last year where they dress in their caps and gowns and visit their schools that they were a part of. So that'll be happening on June 5th. They'll leave the high school. We're doing it slightly different than last year so that we can get them to all the schools. So we're separating them out based on the elementary schools they attended so that they get to see their schools and they'll all come together at the middle school and WECC. So June 5th for the senior parade. I'm going to have to get you the name of the specific room it's being held in. I just wanted you to know. We'll email. Yeah.
Mary?
It's at the Betty Tipton room.
Thank you so much, Mary. Appreciate that. That's right. You're the ambassador, so I got it. Great. See, this works in more than one way. 12 o'clock.
Do you want RSVPs from board members who are going to
No,
attend?
it's an
They can
open
just
event.
show up.
They absolutely
Okay.
can show up. Okay, in your packet is the usual attendance and discipline report. I don't know if there's any questions.
Thank you for providing us this information. And as usual, I'm interested in how many students are repeaters, right? So I noticed in a few schools, like one person is a person who has had more than one. In others, some more. And what I would ask is can the board to get an idea of these students who have had multiple events, what in terms of behavioral health is or interventions are being done to help them not repeat their mistakes. Thank you.
Okay. That would require some research to go through each student. We are tracking the unique rate because we're required to do that, and it's important for us to understand that. I certainly can ask the middle school and the other schools here, middle school having the most in terms of unique students, what they're doing to support their
Or
their
as groups,
mental health.
right?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank
Sure.
you.
So can we get a report back on that at a future meeting, maybe?
It'll be
About.
in generalities though, because we don't speak
not
about individual students, right?
But the general approach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we provided lists of the interventions and supports that are in place, but we certainly can ask specific to the discipline data.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next in the board packet is just information about the People Empowering People, the leadership development program that we provided to the community through our Family and Community Engagement Office. There are a number of the participants in that program who are ready to graduate, meaning they've taken enough of the classes in order to reach graduation requirements. They are graduating from the class on May 31st, 2024. And if anyone is interested in attending, please let me know and we will get you the specific information about that ceremony for the community members who are graduating from the PEP courses. Next up is just an update on the policy work. The district continues to work hard. Have to shout out to Holly Padavina, who's been managing the process on our end, and it is a multifaceted process. As you know, Katina, as the chair of the committee, and Brendan, it is a lot of work looking back on 15 or 20 years of policies and trying to revise and update them to be aligned with Shipman and Goodwin model policies. So you have an update, and based on board feedback, we've provided the reasons why or the rationale behind the changes that we're making in your board packet. Any specific questions? And last but not least in my report is just a reminder that there was legislation passed in July, Section 2 of Public Act 23-160, which requires the Connecticut State Department of Ed to offer annual training to elected officials, Board of Education members. And in order to satisfy this legislative requirement, any new board members have to attend one of these sessions. And if you remember back in December, we shared information that either new members could attend or existing members could attend. And if you had gone to that, that would satisfy the legislative requirement. There is a new session planned for August 8th. And actually, we just today, Lynn shared with me an email that has at least the planning piece for that. So I'll push that out to board members tomorrow. But so August 8th is an important date. If you are a brand new member, we have one brand new member, so you can get that on your calendar. And everyone is welcome to attend any of these offered by CABE. CABE is the organization, Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, that the State Department of Ed is contracted with to provide the training.
Right, and I encourage anybody on the board who particularly has not gone through a CABE training workshop to sign up to go. Even if you've been on the board a couple of years, it can never hurt. And if you've already gone to a CABE training and you want to go to the updated one, there are always changes, always new information. So if you can spare some time on August 8th, it would be a good thing for folks. And I'm sure Dionisi would like company.
And that's it for me.
Thank you. So now we're on to committee reports. And first up is policy. Katina?
Yes, I second again. Kudos to Holly for doing such a hard work and the administration. And for your consideration tonight, there are quite a few policies in the agenda to repeal and only one to repeal and replace. And pretty soon we will be done with the complete review of all the policies. And then from now on, be updated forever and ever. That's my report. Anything you want to add, Brandon? Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, on to curriculum report. Mary?
Yes, we met May 15th and we discussed a special presentation, sort of last minute, by Nicole Bay and Nick Kukla about a travel opportunity for middle school students at Wyndham Middle School and Barrows. From Student Tours of America, an immersive STEM cultural experience in Puerto Rico. It would take place over spring vacation. Students would not need a passport. That's one of the advantages. And there are fundraising opportunities. So this is very first glimpse at the program. However, some of the sites would be a bioluminescence lab, of course, the historic city of San Juan. There's also some benefits with, of course, Spanish and language immersion, although I don't know if Spanish is required. There will be a fuller presentation by Nicole Bay and Nick Kukla on June 12th at the BOE meeting. So we had some questions about chaperone ratios, documents for students. So, but it will be an inclusive program offered to all those eighth grade students. We also discussed New England Association of Schools and Colleges, NEASC's 10th year accreditation process at Wyndham High School, which will begin in fall 2024, although the final deadline is 2027, partly due to COVID, where things got slowed down. And there's a number of goals that will be made or will be discussed. Standards, and there's a whole timeline. So May 2024 reflection paper, spring 2025 2-day goal setting, spring 2027 full NEASC team visit. That went fast. Okay, so that's mostly what we talked about. Any questions?
Thank you, Mary. Anything? No? Seeing none, we're going to move on to personnel, and I know the meeting was rescheduled, but Paula, I think, has some information to share with folks.
Yes, we were rescheduled, but in the meantime, I had prepared to discuss, and this is a good opportunity, just again to review the timeline for the superintendent's evaluation. Our dates that we want to keep in mind tonight, as you saw, we have a notebook that talks about the progress of the strategic priorities and the core strategies, district safety and parent advisory committees and others, along with the recommendations from the district survey committee. June 1st, Dr. Youngberg will provide a copy of the evaluation rubric, which actually we have included in this notebook. So this way you have it in plenty of time. You can review it prior to the mandated getting it forward. On June 12th will be the report of the end of the year benchmark data and accountability index projections. Board of Ed and superintendent will then meet in executive session to discuss the performance to date and to discuss contract negotiations. A written draft of the evaluation is generated at this point. By June 23rd, the Board of Ed will provide Dr. Youngberg with a draft of our written end-of-year evaluation. If necessary, an executive session can be called at the 6/26 Board of Ed meeting to discuss evaluation letter and complete contract negotiations, but hopefully we'll get it done first round. And then by June 30th, end-of-year evaluation is then published on the district website. The self-assessment, I don't think was included here, but that we will send forward to. That doesn't quite have the timeline that the
Yeah.
evaluation does.
We normally discuss the self-assessment at our retreat, but it's good for people to begin thinking about it.
Take it to the beach and do it at your leisure.
So does anybody have any questions on the timeline that Paula just outlined? So I do want to encourage board members to make every attempt to be at that meeting on June 12th and the June 26th meeting in case there's need for another executive session. As you may remember, we are not doing any executive session participation remotely. You have to be there in person to participate in the executive session. So those are our regular Board of Ed meetings anyway, but I want to make sure that everybody makes every attempt to be there in person. Katina, you have a question?
Just a comment that on the 26th of June, I'll be out of the country.
Thank you.
And just let everyone know that the Personnel Committee will be meeting next Wednesday,
The 29th.
the 29th
Correct.
at 6.
So next Personnel Committee meeting is the 29th at 6. Thanks. Any questions for Paula? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Paula, for that reminder and rundown. And I hope people take a look at the book. And I know we're going to be talking about information that's pertinent to all of this at this meeting tonight. So we're going to move on. I don't see any other questions to the discussion items. And Tracy, I'll let you tee up the survey.
Sure. So if the board remembered, or to help you sort of remember our journey with the surveys, after we gave the survey in December and it closed up in January, we convened, the survey committee who's done a substantial amount of work on, and we left it that they were going to make recommendations to the board as to how we would handle the survey moving forward. And tonight I have Cami Nyland Poirier, and I know Holly is also a survey committee member. Are you doing it on your own? She's, okay, so she's going to present the information from the committee, and I just want to formally thank everyone who's on the committee because they did put in an enormous amount of work. There are all their names. An enormous amount of work identifying strengths from the survey, next steps, and then making recommendations for future survey use. So I really appreciate this committee. Thank you, Cami.
Yes, there definitely is more than just me on that committee. And so we've already presented most of the locations to you, but the final three was the Wyndham Early Childhood Center, Wyndham Phoenix Academy, and Central Office. They each had their own surveys. So we'll start with, like we did with the other locations, we'll start with like their strengths and celebrations, and then areas for improvement, and then, any questions that we had. So at Early Childhood Center, their strengths and celebrations, school climate, all across the areas, the certified surveys, the non-certified staff surveys, and the families. They all felt very positively about the school climate there. As well, leadership at both the school level and the district level ranked very positively. Teacher efficacy was high. Families feel very supported and welcome at WECC. They even mentioned the diversity and the respect that they felt there. And families are overwhelmingly positive about the school and district communication. In the areas for improvement, I won't read every single thing, but just some of the things that did pop out at us. The certified staff really, in their comments, spoke about needing more time for collaboration. We know that the Early Childhood Center has some very unique needs, very different from, elementary ed, even K-5 schools. So the time that they need for planning and collaboration, that's something that we'll really have to look at going forward. They overwhelmingly said they need more time for that. Support for the RISE program, of course. And we just did note that the participation rate was a little bit low. We're not really sure why. Non-certified staff, they all said they felt very burnt out. Hard work for low wages. Of course, challenging student behaviors, that kind of goes across grade levels. And then the families just said they'd like to be more involved, more activities. So that's kind of a positive, I guess, that they want that. And then more information needed. We were just curious about the certified staff participation rate and the variations in the survey results. Now, what this means is when Panorama put the results together, you would get like your survey topic, and it might say, I don't know, teacher efficacy, for example. And on the Likert scale, it would go from extremely confident, somewhat confident, not at all confident, or maybe it doesn't apply. And sometimes when they tallied the results, most of the time they combined and they considered it a favorable response if it was extremely and somewhat, and they added those together. And so when we would sit down as committee members and look at the data, of course, when you're you take your initial look, you're looking for the positives, but then you're also looking for the things that make you say, ooh, I'm concerned about that. And so all of us would circle a certain topic on the survey. And then in reality, it wasn't something that was negative. If you saw that 60% had a favorable response for, say, teacher efficacy, you would wonder about that. But then in reality, they only took the extremely responses and considered that favorable. They didn't add in the somewhats, whereas with other questions, they did add those two things together. So there were just some discrepancies that way. So when we looked at numbers, we really had to look deeply, and this took a lot of time for those reasons. For Phoenix Academy, their strengths and celebrations, as you can see across, they had actually 4 different surveys. Certified staff, again, great leadership at the building level. I believe on one of the comments said 2 words, Matt Harnett. So they feel very, very strongly about his great leadership. Teachers feel empowered, and their attendance has really surpassed what they expected. Non-certified staff, again, school leadership, the communication, students feel enthusiastic. Families feel safe. They feel it's welcoming, great communication, and their diversity is valued. And then the students also said growth mindset. So a lot of good celebrations out of Phoenix Academy. Some of the challenges, I think just maybe some of the maybe logistical things like telephone lines, that would be a concern. Hard to get into contact with parents sometimes. One thing that jumped out at us was they feel left out of the Windham Public School family. So that's something that I guess from all areas, we could all try to embrace our colleagues over there a little bit more. And they were hoping for some more opportunities for 18 to 22-year-olds. And they need a math teacher. So if anybody out there is a math teacher, I think they still need one. The non-certified staff, they didn't feel the vision was shared by the superintendent. Students, some of the challenges, just awareness, social awareness, emotional needs, having a trusted and safe adult relationships. And then under the families, just some of the notes there are that the results were a little bit hard to interpret because of the 6 that participated, 3 were students that completed them because they're probably, adult age, so they completed it. So, we were wondering if that might have been skewed a little bit. And then just families felt they needed to be together more for engagement. And then just some of the more information needed, transportation. Could it be possible to do something for parent meetings, maybe half days on Fridays? How can we help students to arrive prepared? How can the district vision be shared in a more clear manner? Again, opportunities for 18 to 22-year-olds in our community. How could they be more welcoming? And then how can we build teacher confidence in the higher level learning? Those were some of the more information needed areas. And then moving on to central office. Again, physically and emotionally safe. They feel that the superintendent's vision is clear. They would recommend the district as an employer. They feel there's a positive tone, and they do feel supported by the central office team. Well, I guess that's good. Areas for improvement. The communication of important information that came out with non-certified staff, and maybe just some of the responsiveness to feedback that showed up as an area for improvement. And then some of the additional information or possibly next steps, streamlining some of their processes there, having written standardized protocols, a more comprehensive onboarding process. Some things needed updating, directories, flowcharts. And then they just said that some of the survey questions weren't exactly aligned to their roles. And then on to recommendations for future surveys. We felt that the timing, maybe beginning of December through the second week in January. I believe that's similar to what we did, similar. And then just trying to get more participants. Someone said maybe we could do a survey blitz at different events that happen, big, large events, encouraging people to take the survey. And then as far as frequency, this is a lot of work. So we said once a year is probably good enough. Although the dream might be to do a fall and a spring, the turnaround time would be nearly impossible. It's a lot of man hours. So we felt that once per year, keeping a pulse on all of our locations would be sufficient. And then the platform, possibly a Google Doc. Of course, the most important thing would be security. And we also said maybe having paper copies available if families would like to take it that way. Having, they could do it electronically or by paper. And then as far as students, we felt that including grade 5 and up would be sufficient. Grades 3, 4, and 5, we just felt that all 3 of those grades was a bit much. And some of the questions are confusing for 3rd and 4th graders. So we would recommend grades 5 and up only. I guess that's it. So if there are questions or additional information needed, I'm sure there's someone in the house that can answer them.
Are there comments, questions that anybody has?
Thank you.
She's a good teacher, right?
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I don't see any people pressing their mics, so I think we can move on to the next item then. Thanks.
That's me. Okay, I'm going to get up and present from the podium in just a minute, but I do want to remind board members that you have the presentation in front of you in your binder. In the binder is also, as was mentioned by Paula, copy of the superintendent's evaluation, the rubric, a copy of the strategic priorities and core strategies that we'll be going over, copies of all the emails, which I know you're copied in on when we do an all district staff celebrations email that comes out each month. You have a copy from the January celebrations to the most recent, and you have a copy of my last evaluation letter dated August 16th, 2023. So let me just. Forgot about the microphone. There you go. All right, so this is the opportunity for us to start the conversation about where the district is in terms of our progress to date. I'm going to go over generally the strategic priorities and core strategies, talk to you a little bit about the district committees, one of which you just heard from, and just remind you of some of the items that were listed in the superintendent's evaluation letter from last summer. This will give you an opportunity to ask questions, potentially ask for additional information, so that we're able to go through the evaluation process that Paula was mentioning at Personnel Committee feedback. Okay, so just to sort of bring you back to our mid-year check-in, just a reminder that every year we put out core strategies, the things we hope to accomplish for the school year. So that's the 23-24 strategic priorities. You have it in your binder. We as a district are really focused on following the accountability index that the State Department of Ed has set up for us. So the district receives a performance index and each of our schools receives a performance index. And we've been doing a lot of work to help make sure everyone in the organization understands how that works. Because that's how the state is evaluating us. So we need to understand how we can improve to improve the way we're evaluated. The district has regularly connected all of the dots on this work. So each of the schools and departments puts forth an improvement plan that's aligned to our goals. We have this year presented a State of the Schools document that you also saw at the board retreat. We obviously have a district strategic plan, and annually we put out a budget book. And again, just we know the budget passed, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We did have a board retreat together in October of 2023, and actually a lot of really nice things came out of that retreat. We'll talk a little bit about that in the review. The Board of Ed has done an amazing job of pulling together its committees. I feel like we're in a really good place in terms of our communication and our collaboration. So kudos to all the chairmen of those boards. I'm proud of that work and where we are in terms of how the board is communicating with one another. Obviously, we have our Board of Education meetings every 2 weeks. And this year we started the new programs, the board ambassadors, and what's cool about our school. So both of those new initiatives have actually given the board an opportunity to hear from a variety of stakeholders and see what's happening in our buildings. So that's exciting stuff. Next slide, please. So just a reminder, you saw this in February, sort of the way I see my role as a leader. I'm really trying to come up with sustainable change for the district. I want it to be better off than I found it always. And I'm trying to do that through a variety of shared leadership opportunities and collaboration. As I've shared in the past, I believe in the gifts of leadership from Bowman and Deal's book. And we don't need to get into that now, but I just want to remind you of it. And some examples of what I believe can be played out in the things that have happened this year, like in our convocation, in the way we handle professional development, in the way we handle district committees, and in our school accountability, and just the process that we use to try to involve everyone in district improvement and school-based improvements. Next slide, please. This is just a reminder of all the ways the State Department uses assessment to determine how we're doing. So all of this information will soon be available to us. I don't have the student achievement data available right now. In fact, our students are still testing, but these are all the places that figure into how our schools and district is evaluated when it comes to student achievement. And then overall, in addition to student achievement, we also just have overall student success measures. The state is also looking at our chronic absenteeism, our physical fitness scores, how well we're doing with preparing our kids for college and career, arts access, and graduation rate. And then if you remember this chart from the board retreat, and I believe we touched on it in February as well, this is the accountability index. This is just the targets that we've set up for the year on the many indicators that are used to develop our index. And that's what I was telling you at the last meeting. Our internal statistician is here this evening if there's any specific questions, but you can see there are a number of places where we are evaluated in performance. Next slide, please. And then if you remember, each school has an accountability index target. We set the targets up this year for a 5% increase from last year's scores. That's a very lofty goal, but our goal is to get back into the 70s, because if we're in the 70s, if you remember from convocation, if we get back into the 70s, we will be removed from many state oversight lists, which is ultimately our goal, is to function autonomously, because we are just as good as anyone at the state level in terms of managing our success, and I want us to be managing it in-house. So that's our ultimate goal. Okay, so just like at the midterm, and you have this whole presentation in your binder, I've just gone through and done, given you a visual rating system so that you can see where we are. I'll give you notable highlights, next steps, and then whether or not it's on target or will be on target or not on target at all. Questions so far? I think there you go. Whoa, okay. Any questions so far? All right, so priority one involves student learning. So those are the items on the slide there are the things we set out to accomplish this year. They are all on target. We have done what I hope to be a good job. And in fact, we have some preliminary data that I won't go into it too much because it's not information that we can share publicly yet, but I was going to ask Mr. Weathers to give us one of his quotes, so maybe we'll come back to him. Next slide, please. All right, so some of the highlights this year in terms of student learning, obviously, you know that Natchog School was named Elementary School of the Year. Wyndham High School's capstone projects have been tied to some of our inter-district partnerships. So Wyndham High School students are working with students in other buildings and doing the work around their capstone projects with students in other buildings, which is really exciting. We have continued to have discussions, try to get feedback from staff around topics like early literacy, play-based learning, NEASC accreditation, curriculum compliance. We're going to continue that process. Each time we have those conversations, we learn a little bit more about how our staff members are feeling about our transformation efforts, our improvement efforts. We continue to have discussions about MTSS, or multi-tiered systems of support. That's basically our intervention system. When our students aren't successful, what is it that we're doing in response to that? So that's a discussion we're having at the leadership level. What we have uncovered, what we knew, but we have to get better at, is that each school is sort of addressing that in a different way, and we need to address that consistently. So we're having those discussions at the leadership level. As I just mentioned, the preliminary student achievement data shows multiple areas of growth. Do you have a quote to offer around that, Mr. Weathers? It's not public information yet, but one of the really nice things is our SBAC data and a lot of our state assessment data is now coming back much faster than it ever did, so we can see it. It's not released yet, but we can see it.
So what I'm willing to share is that of the 22 sub-indicators, that well over half of them, or the majority of them, are absolutely trending as an improvement from last year. And we'll have more information, but I would say majority to significant majority of them will be showing increases at the district and school levels.
So that's his
Yeah,
quote,
like
yeah.
that.
So that's good news. It's looking like it's going to be good news. So hopefully we'll have that to share before we get to the rest of the discussions. I can tell you, because this is released information, we did increase the graduation rate 8.5% from the previous year. So that's really good information. We're incredibly happy about that. In terms of next steps for student learning, we still have to figure out or create our own, because we piloted Horizons benchmark at Wyndham High School and it was not a success for us. It ended up, we ended up realizing that we probably have more control by creating our own benchmarks like we have in the past. So that's something we have to revisit. We have to align all of our daily instructional work to the new SAT requirements. The SAT has changed drastically. And so we're trying to make that adjustment, and we're asking or considering technology changes, because all of the SATs and all of the AP exams and NGSS, the Next Generation Science Standard, they're all digital now. So it's a very different way of living and assessing. So we're now making those adjustments on the technology side. As a district, we need to continue to focus on Tier 1 early literacy. Neil and I have taken a look at data for the last 20 years and started to have conversations with staff because we're not seeing the kinds of growth in that area. We need to be seeing a steady move forward of students who are proficient readers by grade 3, and we're not seeing that. Small incremental changes, but not the kind of change we should see. So that's one of our focus areas. And we really do want to get back to the idea of data teams, strong data teams that are supported by a professional learning community, or PLC, because we feel like we're doing it on the surface level, but we're not digging in deep enough. And that's really what's going to help us move to the next level of achievement. So that those are the next steps in terms of student learning. Any questions on the student learning side? Yes.
I have a question. Can you go back a slide? You said you were going to work to identify or create aligned benchmarks.
Sure.
How does that work?
Okay, so So a benchmark is just a check-in on where students are performing prior to them taking whatever the formal assessment is. So let's say you're trying to benchmark for the SAT. You want to have some check-in on the same types of skills that they might be measured on the SAT. So we had piloted a company called Horizons that was giving us benchmarks. So giving us their own assessments that were supposed to be aligned, and then support work that kids could use to improve their skills. What we found was what the Horizon assessment said to us and what the actual SAT score said to us didn't match. They weren't a close enough predictor, so they weren't helping the high school teachers to make the changes that they would need to make to support the students. So Neil and I actually implemented a few years ago an in-house benchmark for SATs. He and I created it together prior to me being superintendent. And we feel like those were better predictors than the ones that we paid money for. So we know we can come up with some kind of formative assessment that will help drive instruction.
Thank you. Mary?
Yeah, I just want to say, from the point of view of, doing an evaluation, I just don't find it valid to use predictions or to say that if I could see the numbers, they would be compelling, or I mean, I have to see the numbers in the sense, or otherwise that category can't be assessed. I mean, last year there was similar, predictions, and then 4 out of 7 schools did lower. So I'm just trying to reconcile the idea that, we have to do an evaluation, but, I just am not confident in doing one that's based on predictions or on numbers that some people see, but not the people doing the evaluation.
So in executive session, we could share stuff that's not yet released publicly. So that's something that can happen for what we have access to. Were you being specific to the benchmark? Because we're required by the state to provide benchmarks. So that's not, we're required to have those predictors in place. It's part of our school and district improvement plans. Like, we must have them. So.
Right. I don't have a problem with benchmarks. I just have a problem with evaluating a number that's not real. That's just a prediction that will then be authenticated or, 3 months later. But so I can't do it just based on that.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, it's priority 2 is staff learning and capacity and staff capacity. And these are the things we set out to accomplish this year. They are all on target. And I'll just give you some highlights and next steps on the next slide. Again, have to celebrate the staff at Natchog Elementary School. All schools are focused on the continual improvement loop. I think we've done a really good job of communicating and holding schools and departments accountable, and at the same time providing support when they need it. The EME department, that's the Equity and Multilingual Education Department, has really done a super job in supporting schools and district success. Pupil Services is working hard on the MTSS model to help support the process for identifying students for special education. The Human Resources Department, HR, has been doing monthly staff recognition, there's been multiple departments collaborating around the Increasing Educator Diversity Plan and the PD that's associated with that plan. The District Professional Development and Evaluation Committee, PDEC, just recently completed the professional development for the new administrator and teacher evaluation system that will soon be presented to the Board of Ed. We continue to focus on using in-house experts to facilitate PD whenever that's possible, and to gather staff input around what they want to learn about and what they need to grow professionally. We continue to focus on the staff-led committees, such as the Survey Committee, the District Safety Committee, and my Parent Advisory Committee. And we are in the process right now of completing the end of the year walkthroughs. Tomorrow is the final day of walkthroughs with Betty Oska, Dr. Oska from Educational Partners. So we're in this continual improvement loop and trying to grow and get better at all the things that we're we set out to accomplish. I have my end of the year leadership meeting on June 18th. That is the final check-in on accountability for each of our schools and departments. We will do some reflecting and then identify how we're going to get even better moving forward. I will be bringing some information to the board in June because one of the things that we've noticed in our planning sessions is we have a number of new initiatives and some initiatives that require more attention and time than we initially thought. So I have some considerations for trying to increase the amount of professional development time we have in 24-25, which might have some minor adjustments to our calendar, which I'll bring to the board in June. But it is one of the things that we want to focus on. And it's feedback we receive from staff members about needing more time to actually feel like they can accomplish this laundry list of things that we know we need to accomplish. Any questions on staff learning or staff capacity? Next slide, please. Priority 3 is partners as resources. All of these are on target. We do still need, you'll notice that there's an orange check there for the elementary consolidation project and basically getting the community involved. It's not part of the plan yet because we're still working on the feasibility plan, the RFP and all that, but that is the next phase of this, is engaging the community around getting their feedback on the elementary consolidation and proposed construction project. Yes, Mary?
Yeah, I would say that that is something that distresses me the most, that, I mean, just outreach to the parents in particular at Wyndham Center School, as well as the other schools, which will be very significantly impacted. So I find that I don't really see how that can be on target. It's, again, very distressing.
So I want some clarification on that because I thought I wasn't able to communicate with families about what's happening without a board vote on any of those things. So what I mean by it's on target in that the district has done everything it can do before I can do anything else. So if I communicate with the Wyndham Center families, for example, before the board has voted, haven't I stepped out of line?
Well, I think it's a more than superintendent role. And I think perhaps what, to me, that implies not just the superintendent's responsibility, but the entire board's responsibility to get parent, community
Sure.
input on things. So it's not on target. It's not listed as being on target here. It's it's a yellow.
Right, it's
I'm
on,
looking.
it needs additional supports for us to actually
it
put it in
needs work,
green.
right.
Correct.
Hasn't met goal.
Right.
And I think when we set this goal, when this goal was set, it was before we were thinking about closing Wyndham Center earlier, right? It was when we were just talking about elementary school consolidation. I'm not making excuses. I'm just stating a fact. And obviously, the board is very serious about going out to the community with the elementary school consolidation issue, but I see why it's yellow here, personally.
Yeah, I would say, just to clarify, and I'm not talking about the board's role, because we don't talk to parents about the curriculum and about the classrooms and where teachers are going to be next year or anything like that. So what I mean, it's not even whether we voted on it or not yet. So I don't want that discourse to be confused with the idea that we owe it, we or the district, including the administration of the district, to engage parents and to get them prepared for the idea that this elementary school project may be in the future, but also it will have an impact on them. And so it is a very distressing thing to have elementary school children and then to be told some are going to another school next year, some others will be in. So, I feel that there is a duty that the school administrators have, even whether we've made a decision or not, just to prepare the parents and even the teachers, because apparently, there's things happening at the moment of people being moved and classrooms being changed. So as just presenting to town council to get $250,000 for a study is not the same as engaging the community and the parents.
I would just say, Mary, that the plan is, if a decision is made, to go out and engage the parents. And one of the arguments that was made by Tracy was that the sooner we make that decision one way or the other, if we make a decision to do that, to close Wyndham Center School, for example, then that triggers a whole bunch of activity as far as engaging and working with the parents in the community. We did move more slowly than I think I had hoped on the elementary school consolidation conversation. It's taken longer than we had anticipated to get to a point where we have enough information to go out and start talking to the community. But I think I believe the intent is, at least for my part as the board chair, is that we start work this summer on doing outreach to the community on elementary school consolidation. And that happens in a lot of different ways over the next 6 months.
And none of the changes that I've recommended would be happening until the start of 25-26. So September, August of summer. I'm sorry, Mary, I saw you shaking your head. What is the question?
People are being moved next year.
No, Mary, that's not the same as the elementary consolidation. As you know from our budget presentation, we had to reduce staffing, right? Most of those reductions were vacancies to get to the 3.585%. So there are some movements in the district to get to that budget place. That is correct. That's not the same as the elementary consolidation, moving the 5th grade back, or the construction project. They're separate issues. We make movements every year, Mary. There's people that move in the district almost every year. There's consolidation of classrooms, there's out of area movement, there's staff movements, there's staff requests to transfer. It happens every single year. It's not the same as those things.
I'd like to, as a point of order, to have us move on, because the discussion about Wyndham Center School is later, the next on the agenda, actually.
Correct.
So
Just some highlights on Partners as Resources. Chronic absenteeism has improved in 7 of our 9 schools. You know that we have been approved to hire a project management firm to figure out the K-4 consolidated elementary school and its feasibility. We have strong staff and board participation in the ad hoc construction planning committee. We have developed an ed spec back in the fall with multiple contributors from the staff. The district survey committee has summarized all of our data, identified strengths and recommended next steps, which you heard from earlier tonight. We've done a really good job, I think, as a district, partnering with multiple town agencies in support of Wyndham students, whether that's the Willimantic Police Department, the Fire Department, Wyndham Pride. We've done a really good job of reaching out and connecting the dots for our students. We've increased the number of social worker interns in the district and student teachers. We continue to participate in the Renovate As New process, which is a $112 million investment in the community, and 5 of our 5 budgets have been passed to date. In terms of next steps, we have got to have a strong focus on improving Wyndham High School's chronic absenteeism data. CPEARL helped with the operations, but not with the results to date. The Parent Community University, which is PCU, we had the district parent advisory group helped us plan that university back in the fall, but the attendance was really low. So we're going to increase the attendance for PCU this coming fall. One of the things the parent advisory committee has shared is we took a look at all the parent engagement events in the district by school and asked them for some feedback around what they would like to see so that we could come up with some consistency. We're not going to make every school the same because they all have their own personalities and want to do their own thing, and they should be allowed to do that. But we can say there'll be a minimum standard of care, so to speak, that every single school will have certain things to offer their families. So we're going to continue down that path. Obviously, the elementary consolidation has the community outreach piece, which is next. And if you remember in my previous presentation, you hear about it, we have a communication plan to engage everyone around this, the whole concept of consolidation. We'll be centralizing our family liaisons and then deploying them based on data and family need. And we are currently working on ensuring that the school physical and immunization requirements do not impact student attendance. And I think we've come up with some creative solutions to make sure our students meet those expectations. Priority 4 is learning environment. These are the things we set out to accomplish this year. They are all on target. Yes.
So you did this survey fall and spring? I
We
thought it was
did.
only in the fall.
It
Okay,
was.
well, it says fall and spring.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's an error in the presentation. I apologize. I think originally it was going to be fall and spring and then it didn't come out. So sorry about that. In terms of highlights, we maximized the use of ESSER funds to ensure school safety. Used a lot of those funds to invest in cameras and lockdown systems, blue lights, et cetera. We are, as I mentioned, the stronger partnership with the Willimantic Police Department. We have our final safety committee scheduled for May 30th. It's a Zoom meeting. If any board members wanted to Zoom in, I can send you the link. We have invited Officer Rosado and Detective Adele to answer the safety committee's questions related to, just how safe are we in our buildings. So they're actually going to answer those questions and provide us with feedback and recommendations from a police standpoint. All the schools have been focused on their unique suspension rates and trying to find alternative ways to support students who are not making good decisions, when we have the ability to make those decisions, because some of them are legislatively determined. We have agreed as a leadership team that the Connecticut State Department of Ed's position statement when it comes to student suspensions matches what we believe. So now we're trying to operationalize that position. We have done a good job in increasing student voice and choice, and there's some reminders of things that we offer our students. We have implemented the second annual District Arts Expo, and as you've heard, middle school put on a musical this year, and Sweeney put on their second musical. So we're working to really showcase our students' talents. And we took the district survey information and used it to improve school and district practice in all of our schools and departments. Run, hide, fight training, that's the training for active shooters. We have to provide that for new staff, and we're trying to determine how to best practice the concepts behind run, hide, fight with students. It's a tricky thing, and it will involve us engaging the parents in the process. But again, it's one of the things that will be discussed at that final safety committee meeting. We continue to try to focus on directly linking our social emotional learning work to reducing exclusionary discipline practices, which is ISS, in school suspension, or OSS, out of school suspension. Any questions on learning environment? Priority 5 is our effective operations. We're on target for 2 of them. One of them is in orange because we're still waiting for the town, and I'm going to need to schedule another meeting to have that discussion about how they want us to handle the elementary consolidation and the 3 to 5 year facilities maintenance plans. We need to get their expectations so that we know we're doing what they are hoping we'll do. We made the decision early on this year not to have the needs assessment done for math and science, so that is not on target because we're going to move that into next year's plan. So some highlights. Next slide, please. Obviously, we completed the EdSpec in the fall. I have made the recommendation to close Wyndham Center School at the end of the 24-25 school year and to use Wyndham Middle School as it was designed for grades 5 through 8. The Finance and Facilities Department have been strongly collaborating to make sure that we are doing a good job of paying all the utility bills and managing all the big maintenance items that are going on in the district. We have a State of the Schools document that the board's been provided and actually offered us feedback, and we made revisions based on your feedback. We've increased collaboration with Eastern Connecticut State University on the whole Grow Your Own Educators initiative. And we hopefully will soon have an MOU for the Wyndham Promise, which is an opportunity for students to save lots of money if they attend Eastern Connecticut State University from Wyndham High School. So that is one of our, hopefully we're going to be able to sign off on that soon. We've surveyed our employees across the district to see if they have interest in being certified, if they're a non-certified employee, or receiving a cross endorsement if they currently carry certification. We're hoping to help and be creative in how we can get the certification areas that we need. Next steps in this area is we need to be looking, it's one of the discussions I'll be having with my leadership team, but we have a number of really in-depth initiatives, and we have to try to figure out how to rework our current job descriptions to maximize efficiency at central office. So more to come on that. I will share that information with the board as we figure it out between now and June 30th. We are working with the State Department of Ed. We moved the meeting until August, but whatever the district's response on early literacy is, the Connecticut State Department of Ed will be helping us because we are going to move those proficiency level scores. As I mentioned, we'll be following up with the town on their expectations of our maintenance plans for our buildings. And we're going to move that math and science needs assessment into the 24-25 school year. Any questions? Yes.
On can you go back?
Sure.
Okay. On the reworking job descriptions, you said central office in your presentation. I mean, when you were speaking, but this says district-wide too.
So what I mean by is central office.
Rework job descriptions, that seems like massive amount of work.
No. So, but it's not massive amounts of work, but we have to make sure that job descriptions match the areas that we know we need support in. But I mean by central office and district-wide staff. So staff that are not in any one place, they're shared district-wide. That's what I'm sorry if that was not clear.
Just wanted to be, I just had to
Yeah.
clarify. That's all.
Yeah.
Tina?
Just a comment that when that is done, also making sure that the job descriptions in the internet or job, where people apply reflect
Sure.
that.
Yes, the changes. Thank you. Priority 6. Next slide, please. So this is what we set out to accomplish this year in terms of diversity as strength. 3 of them are on target, and 1 of them will continue the work into next year. Next slide, please. We obviously have ongoing recruitment efforts done in our HR department and in our EME department. One little data point there is we've had pretty significant growth in hiring teachers of color, which we're very proud of, the highest growth in our district reference group. So that's something that I'm happy to report, pretty significant growth since the 2019-20 school year that I took over. The SELA bioliteracy targets are on track. At this point, they're still testing, but we've already surpassed last year's total of 33, so that's always good news. We completed the leads training and have a planning call scheduled for this coming Friday. And that planning call will help us determine where we're headed next with that. We did have to wait for the budget to pass and figure out what we could provide in terms of funding next steps on our training. And then obviously the board saw the increasing educator diversity plan that was submitted to the state in March. We are awaiting feedback, as are all districts across the state. And from there, we'll make sure that all of the connections are made so that everything that we listed in the plan is part of what the work that we're doing. And the district equity plan, we're already kind of living the district equity plan, but it's going to be formalized and then make sure that we've connected the dots across all departments and schools. Next slide, please. So then this is just all of the bullets that the board put in their letter, in the evaluation letter last year. These are all the things that the board asked for me to focus on. I think that we've focused on all of them in some way, shape, or form. So some of the stuff you will be able to identify when I'm able to share the actual achievement data with you. But if there's anything specifically there that you'd like to know more about, please let me know so I can provide information to you about the bullets prior to the evaluation discussions.
So if the evaluation discussions are happening and we're going into executive session with you on the 12th of June, I would ask that board members, if you have any information requests, that you get them to Tracy by the 5th of June at the very latest.
Sounds
So
good.
there's time to put it together because it's busy at the end of the year.
It's very busy. That is true. I think the last slide is just, yes, questions, comments, or more information.
Any comments, questions? We're going to be delving into this in more depth when we get more information from Tracy and dig into the evaluation back and forth discussion. But anything now, Bernie? Okay, thank you, Tracy. That's a lot to absorb, but we have it
Have it
all
all.
on paper, and we can take it home. And if there are questions, please respond to Tracy and CC me so I can know, I can be prepared for our discussion with Tracy. Thanks.
And I think I have another, I think I'm up next. There we go.
So at our last meeting, we had a pretty deep discussion about the Wyndham Center School issue, and we also referred repeatedly to the concept of returning fifth graders to the middle school when the early childhood program moves out and we've had time to make that wing of the building available again to older students. So what we agreed was that we asked questions at the last meeting. Tracy got back to us with information, but we're going to go over it again tonight. And then we're also going to be hearing about moving grade 5. I do have on the agenda tonight possible action on both of those issues. What I would like board members to do is be ready for us to go around the table like we did last time after we hear from Tracy. Okay? So
Okay.
you
Thank
can
you.
give the presentation, then we'll go around the table. People can make a statement or have questions to ask or
Sure.
whatever.
So the board specifically asked for two pieces of information. They asked for the current class sizes at the elementary schools, and they asked for the projected staffing. What would that look like in 25-26 if grade 5 returned to Wyndham Middle School and Wyndham Center School was closed? So what I've done is I've taken the presentation from May 8th and I've added in the information the board requested, and we'll just quickly go through it so that you have all the information you need. Next slide, please. So we already went through all these important dates about the elementary consolidation and all the work we've been doing for the last 4 years around this conversation. Next slide, please. And this is the slide that just reminds you of why it was Wyndham Center School that was chosen as the recommended school to be closed at the end of 24-25. It is because it is the smallest school in terms of square footage. It is also the school that has the fewest number of students, meaning that there would be the fewest number of students and families impacted by the closure. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just the slide where we went through the fact that in the summer of 2024, Wyndham Early Childhood Center will be relocating to its new home right on the back end of Wyndham High School. I am recommending that the current third graders go back to Wyndham Middle School as the building was designed, grades 5 through 8, for the start of the 25-26 school year. We're proposing, you'll see in the presentation, as you saw on May 8th, the communication commitments we've made around trying to engage the community around this. And I really am thinking about the move back to Wyndham Middle School as 2 schools within one building, a 5-6 school and a 7-8 school. So this is just the same information you heard on May 8th. And trying to understand how we're going to support both the 5th and 6th graders and the 7th and 8th graders because they are very developmentally different. Next slide, please. Just a reminder, Wyndham Middle School has 4 distinct hallways as it was designed for grades 5, 6, 7, 8. Currently, Wyndham Early Childhood Center is in one of those hallways. We're going to bring back 10 classrooms, 10 fifth grade classrooms, 4 from North Wyndham, 2 from Sweeney, 2 from Natchog, and 2 from Wyndham Center School. The 5th and 6th graders will be on the first floor. The 7th graders will be on the second floor. 2 schools within a school. Any questions so far? Then you know that we took the information from the public ed site, and I've given everyone the source if you want to check out the information. We gave you the highest enrollment over the last 10 years. Our enrollment as of October 1st, and October 1st is when the district is required to report to the state on our enrollment. That's how they manage, that's the date that they give us. And then I showed you that the highest enrollment that took place at Wyndham Middle School was when the 5th grade was there prior to the opening of Barrows School, and there was as many as 965 kids on average in that building. We are not coming anywhere near that number, but it happened already because between 2006 and 2012, that is the average enrollment. And you can check that information on public ed site. Then this is, as you remember, is the class sizes at Wyndham Middle School as we're projecting them for 24-25 and 25-26. And if we move the 5th grade back to the middle school, then all of the 5th grades from our 4 elementary schools will attend Wyndham Middle School for 25-26. They will all become Wildcats. Next slide, please. And then these are the communication commitments we talked about, and really trying to engage students, families, and the community at large around this whole idea, trying to make sure that everyone is comfortable with the change and that we figure out how to help the current 3rd graders be celebrated in their elementary schools before making the move back. It's an adjustment. It certainly is. What I have noticed in my 30+ years in public education is the students usually do better than the adults. They really do seem to adjust to change a lot more easily. So I feel like we can make this happen. If we're proactive, we can make students comfortable with this idea and take care of everyone in the meantime. And then we went through, each of the schools has a slide that talks about its highest enrollment in the last 10 years. Its enrollment as of October 1st. So you can see again from public ed site. Yes.
Yeah, what we don't see when we look at numbers and graphs, besides the fact that they're, Barrows came online and things like that, is that North Wyndham School, for example, was overcrowded. There were specials, social workers, psychologists in closets, and they were dividing up the stage and the auditorium. So I really think that it's a mistake to say North Wyndham once had this number, and so it's just going to be fine to move those students there. And I would also like to say that the portables are way over their expiration date, and it is a fact throughout the country that high needs districts for children of color are stuck in decaying portables, which are often completely out of compliance with modern standards. And that was one of my issues 2 years or 3 years ago when the idea of closing Natchog came up. So even if we move 5th grade back to the middle school, we would still have to look at the landscape, take portables out of the picture. They are way over their useful life, and they are actually insulting. I don't care if they have some fresh paint on them. So there's also a number of safety issues. So to me, I cannot really envision the elementary school children having the adequate needs before we open a new school. If we just decide we're going to close this school by looking at numbers that don't tell us anything about the conditions that people were in, not having art, et cetera, because the schools were overstuffed.
Would you like to respond
So-
to that?
that is essentially why we've talked about the elementary consolidation for a really long time is I'm not disagreeing about the use of portables. We shouldn't have to use them. Moving the fifth grade is one of the key points in addressing that. That's what frees up the space in all of our buildings. That's why the buildings were overcrowded, because we took the fifth grade out of the middle school and put them back in the elementary schools. The middle school was designed to house 4 grade levels. And the district made a decision not to do that for a number of years. And that is why you ended up overcrowding. The numbers don't tell the story about the physical makeup of the buildings, but we know what they are. We know that they were built in the 50s. That's why we've been having this discussion for 4 years. I want new facilities. I'm all on board. But when you look at the class numbers, you will see that moving the fifth grade out instantly frees up classroom space in all of the schools. It's the way it was designed. That's how it was supposed to happen. You built a school for 1,200 kids. You currently have about 600 in there. I wasn't here. I don't know why the decisions were made, but that is the reason why you ended up with overcrowding.
No, even before, you know.
you built another
When it
school.
was K4, it was overcrowded in North Windham School, for example, in Natchog, et cetera.
So the enrollment numbers don't match what it used to be. I'm giving you the enrollment numbers from the public ed site. You can look at them up yourself. It's what we report to the state. It's there. I gave you the link so you can check it out.
I'd like to let Tracy finish and we're going to go around the table. I'd really like it to do it that way, please. Tracy, you want to finish?
Okay, so then these are the current class sizes at Wyndham Center School as I think it was the end of April that this was pulled. But those are your class sizes. In blue is the Dos Rios classes, because that's what the board asked for, because you wanted to be able to compare the current class sizes to the projections. So this is Wyndham Center's current class sizes. If you go to the next slide, you will see from the presentation on the 8th what we're projecting in 24-25 and the projection if they were to stay open in 25-26. And then again, just as a reminder for everyone listening, we are recommending that the 1 kindergarten, 1 first grade, 2nd grade, and 3rd grade, a total of 4 classrooms from Wyndham Center School be relocated to North Wyndham School. And the grade 4, which is 3 classrooms, as you can see there from the chart, would be relocated to Sweeney School. And we'd be working hard to try to make sure that families who have students in more than one, don't have students in more than one location. And then this is just a summary of what I just shared, using our logos of what's going to happen to the students if the recommendations are followed. And again, this is for the 25-26 school year. This is a recommendation a year in advance. So then the board asked for staffing projections. They asked what it would look like when we move the students back to Wyndham Middle School. So we've given you a projection of what we imagine will end up being the staff that follows the students from all the elementary schools in grade 5 back to Wyndham Middle School. And remember, we're building 2 schools within a school. So the staffing list, we're imagining that the staff that moves with grade 5 will team up with the staff in grade 6 and they will be a complete school. And then the 7th and 8th grade will have the same thing that's already in place. This is the staffing projections for Wyndham Center School from the students who are relocating from the kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade classroom. Obviously, the 4 classroom teachers, a special education teacher, a 0.5 ESOL teacher who will be shared with Phoenix Academy, and then any additional paraprofessionals based on the IEP service hours. Can't really tell you that right now because I don't know what those service hours are going to look like more than a year from now. Wyndham Center School, the 3 classrooms, the 3 4th grade classrooms from Wyndham Center School that are being relocated to Sweeney will be followed by 3 classroom teachers, a special education teacher, 2 paraprofessionals specific to the RISE M program, and then additional paraprofessionals based on IEP service hours. Any questions on the staffing? Yes.
I thought you wanted her to finish first.
Okay,
I'll say
Okay,
my
so-
question.
Sounds good. Again, North Wyndham, this is the 10 years of 10 years of actual enrollment. The enrollment as of October 1. And then the same thing will apply. Next slide, please. This is their current class sizes at North Wyndham School. And then as compared to the 24-25 projections and the 25-26 projections. Sweeney School, same thing, 10-year trend on their enrollment, the highest enrollment, what they were for October 1st. And then you can see their current class sizes. Next slide, please. And you can compare that to our projections for 24-25 and our projections for 25-26. Natchog School, same thing, same setup on terms of enrollment, their current class sizes as compared to the projections for 24-25 and 25-26. And then just to give you a summary on enrollment, we just created that slide to show you where everybody is. And again, provided you with the EdSite link if you want to go and check any of the information we've shared. And now I guess I'll entertain questions. Yep.
I think probably the best way to do this is how we did it at the last meeting, is go around the table and give people an opportunity to ask questions or say anything they want to say. And I'm going to have to excuse myself to get some more water, but I'm going to get it started with Mark.
Look at that. Come to your aid.
Well, thank you. I don't have any further questions. I think there's a wealth of information here. I think it's time that we just move forward on the project, that we vote to do this, begin the education process within the community. We may or may not have to look at a revote. It depends on if the community charges us with pitchforks, but I think it's time to make a definitive statement. I would vote in favor of the plan to close Wyndham Center in the 24-25 school year.
Thank you, Mark. Paula?
If you'll bear with me, I just had a few comments. As you know, I was given the task of chairing the initial school consolidation committee. It was a pretty emotional task, with all the schools having so many unique qualities. And at that time, we hadn't zeroed in on the idea of a consolidated school. So we were unable to come up with a plan at that point. Wyndham Center School has been somewhat of a local landmark in our community. My three sons attended that school, and it has had great significance for me personally. I know there are many people who feel that way. But as I listen to the news of school budgets being cut dramatically with the loss of teaching staff, the closure of school buildings, I'm all the more impacted by the fact that as board members, our role is not only, but most importantly, to provide a sound and equitable education for our students, but we also have the responsibility to ensure that our budgets are financially sound, utilized appropriately and wisely. Our community that supports our budget deserves no less. After really focusing on Dr. Youngberg's presentation, especially the most recent where she presented the scenario, being able to move Dos Rios classes with their teachers to North Wyndham, which has become the kind of the district center for compañeros and bilingual education, as well as the plan to move the fifth grades to Wyndham Middle School, then leaving few classrooms at Wyndham Center in the year 25-26. It was clear that keeping Wyndham Center School open is not financially sound. Money saved can then be used for hiring and retaining staff and increasing services for all students. With the hope that a brand new consolidated school is in our future, my only concern was the ability to minimize the moving of students and staff by perhaps holding off the closure for another year or two. But I understand, since we don't yet have a definitive timeline and thus significant savings would not be realized. My support you have. I would hope, as it has been stated, though, that siblings would remain together in the same school, depending, of course, on program needs, and that our exceptional staff will indeed remain within our district.
Thank you, Paula. That's very much a prepared statement. Appreciate you. Mary?
Yeah, I see the consolidated elementary school, which is still in a very embryonic stage, as completely separate from the idea of closing Wyndham Center in 24, 25, or no, 25, 26. So, and I am not in favor of that for the reasons of the turmoil it will create among the elementary school students. Putting the fifth graders back is going to be something that's a challenge. There are many concerns and challenges that the middle school has and that the community has expressed concern about. So that itself is going to be a very big enterprise, so pairing the middle school to have the fifth graders back. And I do think they should be there. However, I just don't, I have seen students be moved around somewhat arbitrarily many times, including the fifth grade move, including Natchog students being dispersed because of maintenance issues and things like that. And I just know how anxiety producing and stress producing that is for families. So I do not favor and also I don't favor linking these things. I mean, if we have these 2 years, we're waiting before the middle school students, middle school is at full capacity. I don't see any reason to be tampering with these schools and taking a whole grade. So we have the first graders who are going to be in a different place for second grade, but then there's new first grader. It just seems very, very stressful to me. And I don't see that it's in an educational, the best educational interest. Also because of what I said about the incredible overcrowding that North Wyndham had suffered in the past and other schools have suffered.
Thank you, Mary. Dean Easy.
Thank you. I would like to say that thank you very much for the report, and also mention that our community is a very strong community, especially our diverse community student population. We are a strong community, and with no change, we're gonna have the same outcome. So with changes is how we succeed and how we move forward. And I think, our community is open for change if it's for better and if it's especially for the future. And the only wondering I have, because I don't have the information, is about transportation, if it's going to be affected or not. That's something that I think most parents and families are concerned. And it could be one of the concerns, and the management behavior, if there's, any new programs, any new extracurricular activities or something that involves parents and kids in terms of parenting or behavioral management. And, let's just make sure that we keep the community informed, which is the most important part of all of the decision-making and changes. And that's basically my opinion. We are stronger of what we think we are.
Thank you, Dean Easy. Did I hear a question in there about transportation?
So-
About how that will be handled, how that will be affected?
So the students' transportation won't be impacted at all. They have, as long as they live within the policy, we have a policy about who receives transportation and who doesn't based on their residence, where they live in terms of the school. They're not going to have any change. They're not going to have any change to their transportation. We have a lot of work to do on how that changes, where the buses are going and picking them up, because that changes, but no one needs to worry about whether their kids will be transported to schools. And obviously, if we're moving kids from Wyndham Center School to another location, we're going to provide transportation regardless of where they live. It's part of, yeah.
Did you have another question embedded in there about support for?
Just making, make sure about behavior management in terms of, incidents and behaviors, incidents and prevention or programs.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want?
Well, we're working on school climate every day. It's something, it's one of our focuses. Learning environment is one of our focuses. We have regularly discussing as a leadership team where we are with that and trying to make adjustments, considering programming and professional development. So it's definitely on our radar. We can't succeed if the learning environments are out of control.
Does that satisfy your questions for now? Okay, thank you. Brandon?
Thank you. Again, thank you for all the information. You know, as I mentioned last time, I've had a long connection to Wyndham Center School, so, you know, the discussions are not easy, but if you take away the emotion and the names to it, like, and you just look at the numbers, it just does not make sense to keep that open anymore. Again, not easy to say, but you know, running a school with 130 students just is not a, you know, we're not meeting our fiduciary means there. So, you know, unfortunately, it does make a lot of sense. Moving the fifth graders back into the middle school, so we don't have a quarter of the school sitting empty, makes a lot of sense as well. So, you know, I think I'm ready to make my decision on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. Ilda?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you so much for all the work that went into this presentation for us. I have a couple questions before I make my comment. The staffing projections you gave for Wyndham Middle School, one special ed teacher, one social worker, and one school nurse, especially with the fifth graders going back there, there'll be more students, more discipline problems, and more hormones.
I won't comment on the hormones. But remember, they're joining, that group of staff members are joining what already exists in the sixth grade. We're doing the 2 schools within schools. So we've looked at the numbers in their totality, 5 and 6 staff, 7 and 8 staff. So we feel confident that that's the projection. Obviously, if we uncover additional student need, we'll make the decision to move additional staff, but that's what we've looked at when we're thinking about 2 schools within 1 school.
So the special education teacher will be coming from the other schools?
Yes, staff will be transferred to the 5th grade, yes.
Okay. I wish that was added in this projection. But anyways, we'll move on.
Okay, I was like, you can't be a board member and an employee, but okay.
Okay, so now as far as the closing of Wyndham Center School and bringing the 5th graders back, I do support bringing the 5th graders back. It makes sense, especially the way you have it put together. The 5th and the 6th are going to be on one floor, and the 7th and 8th are going to be on a separate floor. I do appreciate that. I trust your decision to close Wyndham Center School. I know it's going to be hard, and I know it's sad for the staff and the families. But I do believe it's a good financial decision, like others have said. And I just hope the parents take every opportunity to come and take advantage of sharing their opinions during our public comments.
Thank you.
The end.
Thank you, Ilda. Alicia?
I just want to thank you, Dr. Tracy, for all the information that you gave us. And also, I just wanted to say about like closing the Wyndham Center is not going to be a big problem because the students are going to move with their friends to the same school. If they were not together, it would be a big problem, but they're going to be in the same school and they're going to know their friends. And moving the 5th grade to the middle school, I don't think it's a big problem either. So I think it's something good that we're accepting to do.
Thank you, Alicia. Katina?
This, like Brandon well said, this is very emotional. As I said before, Wyndham Center is super close to my heart. The middle school was built and passed, I think, by very few votes, also for 4 votes. Thank you, Latino community. 4 votes for to include the 5th grade. And it was built for that. That's what should be used for. So I think children are super resilient and brave. Our community is strong. My concerns are the reception of Wyndham Center School kids to Sweeney and North Wyndham. I want us as a board and the staff to really work on that. So it's not like the newcomers and, but that we create environments of a loving overall community, since it's a transition to an integrated school. So that's what I want us to work on. I think that making responsible decisions is always hard. And we as a board, I am as a member of this board, have the responsibility to promote equity, which I hope it will help by having a consolidated school in the future, and bringing the resources to all the students. And so definitely in favor of moving 5th grade back. In regards of the behavior, I also want to remind us that the majority of the students are doing fine. Thank you very much. That the majority of our students do behave, follow directions, participate in class, attend school, and are not being suspended. So I'm going to support this very painful and hard decision, because as an adult, I have to make hard decisions.
Thank you, Katina. I'd just like to say I appreciate the serious approach that the board members have taken to this issue. I can't remember. I think I was sick. Yes, I was sick, and I missed the budget meeting where this idea was proposed. So I was sort of surprised afterward to hear about it, because, we'd been talking about moving forward with elementary school consolidation of all 4 schools at the same time. On the other hand, if you look at what's happening in the more urban school settings around the state right now, it's chaos in a lot of them, because, Hartford's about to do 400 layoffs in the Hartford Public Schools, because there wasn't planning done for how we were going to deal with the end of COVID money, and also anticipation that we would have to be living in a different world. I do think that this administration and this Board of Ed has tried very hard to plan ahead of time. And we are being put in a situation where we have to make a decision about one of the schools sooner. And that is unfortunate. But I look at the budget vote that happened last week, and if that isn't a reason for us to really double down and manage our money extremely judiciously moving forward, I don't know what is. I wish I lived in a world where people would turn out and support Board of Education budgets without a problem. But budgets failed in the Wyndhams. And the budget only passed because the Willimantic voters voted to support the schools and the town budget. I think that it's going to be tough for us to sell consolidation. And the sooner we begin the work on all of this, the better off we're going to be. So I say it's a very tough thing, but I really believe we need to make this decision. The sooner we can make these decisions about moving the kids back to the 5th grade, back to the middle school, and beginning the process of spending our money in the wisest way possible, which unfortunately means a decision to close Wyndham Center sooner. I think that we're going to put ourselves on a better footing moving forward to manage our resources within our means. I wish we had a lot more means, but unless the people of this town change the way they view funding our schools, I don't see that changing. I mean, I had been the chair of the Board of Finance, and I've been at the receiving end of having to cut the school budget repeatedly because it didn't pass 1, 2, 3 times. And I don't see when we can only pass a budget by 20 votes that things are going to necessarily get better next year. So that's where I am right now. My 2 oldest children went to Wyndham Center School. Back in the day, Compañeros kindergarten was in Wyndham Center School. It was a lovely place. I have nothing against Wyndham Center School. It's just, when you look at the story that was put together in the information that was presented to us, it just makes sense to me. So. So we're going to go on to action items. And it is an option for us to take action tonight. I'm hearing that people are ready to take action. So the first item under action items is possible action on the superintendent's recommendation to close Wyndham Center School after the 2024-2025 school year. It's hard to read this, but is there anybody who would like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mark. Do I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brendan. Is there discussion?
If I could just add briefly, as with your child, my son who was joined Compañeros at the young age, he also did his 2 years at Wyndham Center and then moved on to Natchog. Moved on to North Wyndham. There was no trauma, and he was already in a special program. My oldest daughter was at Noble till Eastern took it back and then was transferred over to Natchog. There was no trauma in her moving from school to school. I think the kids will adjust very well to this.
So motion was made by Mark and seconded by Brendan. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion that's on the table, please indicate by raising your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. 1 no vote. Thank you. I just have to say, I know Wyndham Center folks are here today, and this is very difficult, and we will begin working with you immediately, and Tracy will too, about how we put the transition into place. And the interns who attended tonight's meeting certainly got to see an interesting meeting. So next item on the agenda is possible action on moving grade 5 back to Wyndham Middle School beginning in the 2025-2026 school year.
So moved.
Motion made by Katina,
Second.
seconded by Alicia. Is there any further discussion? Mary?
Yeah, I'm just going to say, I have always said the 5th grade should have stayed in the middle school, but not as the middle school, that the middle school climate has always been an issue. So I am actually going to vote against this as well, because I don't see enough of an effort to really get that climate under control.
Does anybody else have any comments they'd like to make? Okay. All those in favor of the motion that's on the table, please indicate by raising your hand. Against? Motion carries, 1 no vote. Thank you. That's a heavy lift, folks. So now we have actions on policies, and the next item is item C. Action on policies to be repealed, and we could take one motion to do items 1 through 34 in one fell swoop.
I make a motion, we take 1 through 34 as one item
To approve?
to approve.
Okay,
Or-
motion's made by Ilda. Do I get a second?
Sec,
Seconded by Katina. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion carries. And then we have action on policy to be repealed or replaced, and there's one item there. I would entertain a motion on that.
So moved.
Motion made by Brendan,
I second that.
seconded by Dionisi. Any further discussion? Mary?
What is the situation with the town charter? Says across the top of the policy, disposal of surplus equipment procedures may be affected by the provisions of the town charter. Prior to adopting Shipman and Goodman's model policy, boards of education should determine whether a charter provision applies. So I don't see that.
So let's not take action on that tonight and,
Two policies.
right,
One includes that.
right. So we should just hold on that tonight.
Actually, I thought that's what we, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay,
My
do you
life
have,
has
do
not
you have a
been-
response to that?
No, I don't.
Katina?
I-
Okay.
Except that, I thought we were going to
We discussed it.
discuss it.
But I don't think we ever got an answer back.
Yes,
Okay.
we did get an answer back, yes.
Okay, so do the people who made the motions for that, want to? No, just take it back.
I'll take it back.
Yeah. Who
I
made
take
the
it back.
second?
I take it back.
Okay, and we'll just bring it back at a future meeting when we have the answer to the question. Good catch, thanks. And action on the survey committee recommendations as were presented to us this evening. I'd entertain a motion to accept the survey committee recommendations.
I move we accept the committee recommendations.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Ilda. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion carries. That's it. I'll entertain a motion to, oh, sorry, thank you. Public comment. Anybody want to speak during public comment? There are a couple people online too. Is there anybody? Okay, not seeing any. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 9:28.
So I move, we move.
Meeting adjourned.